Bhagavad Gitas, yeah. Thanks, Sue. Okay, so if everyone repeats after me, Om. Om. I'm going to say how you mean it. Om. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Very good. Okay, so we're going to read from chapter 18 of the Bhagavad Gita. And in the book that you've just been passed around, if you don't have a book, you can look it up online. It's 2025. And this is one of my favourite purports in the Bhagavad Gita, actually. So this is text 76, so it's page 861. Okay, everyone got it? Page 861, at the bottom of the page, text 76. Okay. So, I'll just do the Sanskrit myself. Rajan Samsmritcha Sambadam Imam Adbhutam Keshavajuna Punyam Prishami Cha Muhu Muhu. Okay, and we will go through the translation and purport. O King, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure being thrilled at every moment. Please repeat, O King, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure being thrilled at every moment. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The understanding of Bhagavad Gita is so transcendental that anyone who becomes conversant with the topics of Arjuna and Krishna becomes righteous, and he cannot forget such talks. This is the transcendental position of spiritual life. In other words, one who hears the Gita from the right source, directly from Krishna, attains full Krishna consciousness. Now listen to this for a sentence. The result of Krishna consciousness is that one becomes increasingly enlightened, and he enjoys life with a thrill, not only for some time, but at every moment. I'm going to repeat that sentence again. The result of Krishna consciousness is that one becomes increasingly enlightened, and he enjoys life with a thrill, not only for some time, but at every moment. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Caitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I'll repeat the translation again. O King, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure being thrilled at every moment. Now that sentence that I repeated twice, I was thinking like when you have like advertising. You have something's being advertised. And generally when something is advertised or marketed, the product is not as good as the marketing, right? if you go to buy some food or something, there'll be a picture of the sandwich that you're ordering. Does the sandwich ever look like the one that you get? No. The picture in the sandwich looks absolutely amazing, and you think, wow, I want to eat that sandwich, it looks amazing. What would we have in our sandwich? I'd probably have cheese, tomato, cucumber, lettuce, maybe some vegan mayonnaise. You can't beat a sarnie. Can't beat a sandwich. And ketchup. You like ketchup, don't you, Haridas? Yeah. Yeah. So, but when you look at the picture, it looks amazing, but what you actually get is, so marketing is the art of kind of trying to sell you something that, one, you don't really need, and secondly, it never really lives up to what it promises anyway. This is called Maya, that which is not. But I was thinking quite often they have like marketing campaigns or slogans or something, and you get something, when you read the review or something, you think, wow, that sounds absolutely amazing. But the difference with this is, what Srila Prabhupada is saying here in this last sentence, this is true. This is true. The result of Krishna consciousness is that one becomes increasingly enlightened. And he enjoys life with a thrill, not only for some time, but at every moment. Now, some of you may be thinking, I've been reading Bhagavad Gita for some time. Some of you may never have read Bhagavad Gita. But some of you may have been thinking, I've read it before, and I'm not enjoying life with a thrill at every moment. Right? We may think that. So we may think, no, that's the nice picture, but the product is something different. And so, what we're going to discuss today is how we can enjoy life with a thrill. Not only once, but at every moment. In other words, are we applying Bhagavad Gita? Oh, Bhagavad Gita is not just a book to read, it's a book to live. And this text and purport tells us the benefits of understanding the Gita. So the person speaking, does anyone know who's speaking this verse? Does anyone know? Sanjay. Who? Sanjaya, yeah. Sanjaya, he's recalling. He saw Krishna and Arjuna. He saw Krishna speaking the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna on the battlefield. He wasn't there, but he had some kind of like remote viewing, like some mystic siddhi. And we may think, well, how is that? How can you see something taking place if you're not there? Well, sometimes do we not watch, I like athletics. So I can watch live athletics that's on in the other part of the world, right? I can watch live athletics in Helsinki, right here from Newcastle. Right? So, in other words, there's technology by which you can see things in another part of the world. But Sanjaya, he also had that technology, not with video cameras and this and that. But there's material science, there's the 5 gross elements, earth, water, fire, air and ether. And generally our science deals with these 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air and ether. But there's also 3 other elements, subtle elements, mind, intelligence and ego, or false ego. We may not be able to see the mind, we may not be able to see the intelligence, but it's there, right? So we may not have fully understood these things. So there's a subtle science. So Sanjay, he could see the Bhagavad Gita being spoken. Now, he is giving his opinion or his review of the Bhagavad Gita. He says, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue, I take pleasure being thrilled at every moment. Now, if you want to buy a product nowadays, or if you want to go somewhere, what do you first do? What do you do? You check the reviews, right? You go on TripAdvisor. In fact, I think in our window over there, can anyone see? Is there a TripAdvisor? Yeah. So if you've not already, please leave us a 5-star review on TripAdvisor. Because when you come to buy something, you look at the TripAdvisor, right? And if it's got, loads of 1 stars, you think, I'm not going there. We do have some good reviews actually on TripAdvisor. I think we might have 4.5, something like that. Anyway, you can pump it up with some 5-star reviews if you think we deserve it. Like that. So yes, you check the reviews. And you give it a read and you think, okay, yeah, this sounds like a good product. And you might read a few, you don't just read one, you read a few and it's like, okay, yeah, this sounds good, I will buy that product. So Sanjaya, he is giving his TripAdvisor review of the Bhagavad Gita. And he said, as I repeatedly recall the Bhagavad Gita, I take pleasure being thrilled at every moment. Would you buy that? Is that a good product, right? It's a good review, right? I'd be convinced. But then what you have to do is, once you buy the product, you have to try it for yourself, right? And then you can write your own review. So I think here, Sanjay, he's giving a very good review of the Bhagavad Gita. He says, I take pleasure every time I remember this conversation, and I'm thrilled at every moment. You have these rides like at Alton Towers or Thorpe Park. They call them like white knuckle rides, and they're like thrilling, right? Who likes roller coasters? Does anyone here like roller coasters? Not many of you. Wow. Are some of you like? You make me feel queasy or something? Funnily enough, I used to love roller coasters when I was younger. We have a beach near us, South Shields, and we often go to the fun fair to take the children. And I still think I'm, although I'm 45 now, I still think I'm a little boy. So I'm like, right. So usually when we take the kids, my wife and I, we have to, we can't go on the rides because one of us has to stay, the kids will go on, and we have to look after the other one. But every now and again, maybe another adult will come along, and so we'll have a go on the rides. But the last time I went on a ride, it was one of these spinny ones, and I was like, I think I'm getting a bit too old for this now, actually. I felt really sick and really dizzy. But when I think of thrilling, if something's thrilling, it's like, wow, it's like, like a ride, it's like a real rush. You don't generally think of being thrilled constantly. A thrill's kind of something that comes and goes. But here, Sanjaya said he's thrilled at every moment. So, who would like to be thrilled at every moment? Does that sound good? Yeah, it would be nice, would it not? To always be not just happy, but like thrilled, ecstatic. Yeah, so it's a great review. So now, we've read a good review, but now we have to try and use the product ourselves and then give our own review. Let me just ask, who would give the Bhagavad Gita a good review? Yeah, everyone? Okay, that's good. Not always. What would you say? Not always. What would you say? Okay, so Bhagavad Gita's good?
If you know how to use it, it's good. If you don't know how to use it, it's boring.
That's a very nice analogy. Yeah, if you know how to use it, it's like I've just got a new thermostat in my house, and it's one of these ones. I've got a fancy one that connects to my phone. It's got an app, right? So you can control the heating but I've not read the instructions yet. So right now I can't actually do much with it because I've not really bothered to. So you can have something which is good, like Nikunja's saying, but if you don't know how to use it, then it's not so good. So that means you have to really try and understand something. So the Bhagavad Gita, it's good. It's good. It's a good product. But to understand how to fully utilize it, we have to understand that in the association of other people who know how to use it. Like if I go to someone who knows how to use my thermostat, and they can say, oh yeah, you just do this, that, the next thing. Like yesterday, Back to Rupa came to our house, and we've got a new microwave, and we didn't know how to use it, but Back to Rupa just went ding, 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 and it was on. But I didn't know how to use it, but Back to Rupa, he figured it out, He had some mystic powers. So it's a lot easier to work out something or to get the most of something when you're with someone who knows what they're doing, right? So Bhagavad Gita is like that also. We have to understand it in the association of other people who are not just reading Bhagavad Gita, but are living Bhagavad Gita. Then Srila Prabhupada says that if one understands this Bhagavad Gita, that's okay. We'll take it out of your wages. Yeah, don't lean back on those. They're obviously not so strong. We'll give that a bad TripAdvisor review. Actually, don't put that on ISKCON Newcastle's Trip. I leant against the banister and it collapsed. 1 star. So, Srila Prabhupada says one becomes righteous. Actually mentions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. 5 benefits of reading and understanding Bhagavad Gita. One becomes righteous. One cannot forget such talks. One becomes fully Krishna conscious. One becomes increasingly enlightened. And one enjoys life with a thrill. Now, in terms of righteous, actually the soul by nature has all good qualities. It is Satchidananda, full of knowledge, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. And all the good qualities are there within the soul, but they're just covered over. But the more one tries to apply these teachings of Bhagavad Gita in their life, the more these good qualities naturally develop. So, if you turn to chapter 13, text 8, on page 648, there are a list of good qualities here. So page 648. So these are all the good qualities that will develop. And when we read these qualities, we can also use them as a barometer to see how much we are advancing in spiritual life. When we read these qualities, we may think, yes, I have all of those. Or we may think, I don't have any of those. But hopefully we'll think, I would like to develop those. And they're there. They're there within the heart. The soul has all good qualities. It's just about reawakening that dormant spiritual consciousness within ourselves. So, this is the list. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children. Freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home and the rest. Even-mindedness amidst pleasant and unpleasant events. Constant and unalloyed devotion to me. Aspiring to live in a solitary place. Detachment from the general mass of people. Accepting the importance of self-realization and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I declare to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever there may be is ignorance. That's a nice list of qualities. Did any of those qualities stand out to any of you? Which qualities stood out that you thought, yeah, I'd like to have that? Go on, someone. Nikunj. Simplicity. There. Simplicity. Thanks, Nikunj. John.
Even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events.
Yeah. Even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events. It's easy to be even-minded amidst pleasant events. Actually, it's not that easy. We often get carried away and we start enjoying when everything's going well. It's like, yeah, you know. It's like when the sun comes out in the northeast, all the men take off their top, right? First sign of sun, they take their top out, take their top off, and it's like, yeah. Yeah. And then amongst distress, You know, like road rage. Who suffers from road rage sometimes? My goodness, yeah. Not easy to remain equipoised. Okay, so simplicity, even-mindedness. Anyone else? Any other qualities stood out? Tolerance. Yeah, that'd be a good one to have tolerance. Hang on, Sue, you said one, did you?
I was thinking one. Detachment.
Detachment.
Yeah.
Detachment. Yeah. What were you thinking, Sue?
False ego.
False ego. Yeah, I think it's an absence of false ego.
False ego, yeah.
That's a tough one, isn't it? Absence of false ego. What, Nikunj, you've got another one?
Yeah, detachment from the crowd, mass crowd.
Oh yes, that's right, yeah. There was detachment from the general mass of people. Yeah. I wouldn't advise that in the playground though, because you know, it's break time, we're playing football. No! I want to be detached from the general mass of people, but you're playing in goal. Actually, if you're in goal, you are a bit detached from the rest of the football team, aren't you? Yeah. Any other qualities? Cleanliness. Yeah, that's a good one. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Actually, by practicing spiritual life, we develop internal cleanliness, but it's hard to develop internal cleanliness if you're surrounded by external uncleanliness. It's important to keep your house in order, you know. If you have too many things in your house or in your room, they call it visual noise. Have you ever noticed it's hard to get things done when everything's a mess? It's hard for the mind to focus. Yeah, cleanliness. One more quality that stood out to someone? Self-realization. Yeah. Actually, it's an interesting thing, self-realization. Often, what is very easy is other people realization. So in other words, we look at other people and we say, oh, this person's full of this fault, this person needs to improve that, this person has got, you know, bad manners, right? It's easy to realize someone else, but self-realization, that's not so easy. Right? It's easy to see the faults in others. Is it easy to see our own faults? What if someone points out our faults? Then the false ego rises, right? Who are you to tell me that I've got faults? Yeah. So this is a barometer of where we're at in our Krishna consciousness. But if we do, there's one of them which is really important actually, which is constant and unalloyed devotion to me. Now if you practice constant and unalloyed devotion to Krishna, all of these other qualities will automatically develop. Yeah. Okay, so that's righteousness. Now, the next one is that one cannot forget such talks. When one has read Bhagavad Gita, practiced Bhagavad Gita, one cannot forget such talks. It's a bit like waking up from the illusion. Who's seen The Matrix? Does anyone remember The Matrix? And when they wake up, you know, Keanu Reeves, he wakes up, there's the red pill and the blue pill or something, right? He wakes up and he realizes he's just like plugged into a computer. And they say, well, you can take this pill and then you can go back into the illusion. But how can you do that knowing what reality actually is? So Krishna consciousness is a bit like that. Once you've tasted the bliss that comes from serving Krishna, material happiness just doesn't do it anymore. You know, you cannot enjoy yourself in the same way. One devotee told me when I first joined the temple, he said, coming to Krishna consciousness is a bit like joining the mafia. He said, you can never leave because you know too much. That's a bit of a sinister analogy. But it's kind of true that once you've realized that, no, I'm not the body, I'm the soul, and my true satisfaction is in serving Krishna, you'll never be able to enjoy material life in the same way. Sometimes I listen, I go out for runs, and every now and again I'll listen to an old song and I'll think, oh, you know, I'll put on this old song that I used to listen to. And then I'll listen to it and it just doesn't do it for me anymore, you know? It's like, I used to love that song, but I put it on and it's just like, it just doesn't hit the spot anymore because nothing beats the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One of our acharyas, one of the great saints in our line, he said, Rupa Goswami, he said, if you want to enjoy happiness, society, friendship and love, don't go to the bank of the river Yamuna and look upon the beautiful form of Krishna. Because what he's basically saying is that once you've seen or experienced the beauty of Krishna, you'll never be able to experience mundane happiness again. So he says, if you want to enjoy material happiness, don't look, watch out. Don't look upon the form of Krishna. But I'm sorry everyone, you've already seen Krishna, Panchatattva. They're so beautiful. Now the next point is that, and actually just in confirmation of that in the Bhagavad Gita 2:52, there's a verse that something kind of supports that point, Krishna says, when your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. So again, when we become enlightened, or we have even just a moment of enlightenment, we become indifferent to that material happiness. And 269, what is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled. And the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. So one devotee one time asked Srila Prabhupada, our teacher, he said, what does this verse mean? And Srila Prabhupada, he summed it up. He said, when materialistic people, they see the devotees of Krishna, they think we're mad. Getting up at 4 a.m, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And they think these guys are mad, wearing like bed sheets with paint on their nose. These guys are nuts. So Prabhupada said, when the non-devotees see the devotees of Krishna, he says they think we're mad. He said, but when the devotees see the non-devotees engaging in material sense gratification and thinking that this will bring them the happiness that everyone's searching for, he says, we think they're mad. And he said, and actually, they are mad. But actually, not just mad, they're people who don't know about Krishna, they're just unfortunate. Because at one point, we didn't know anything about Krishna, right? And we were just, mad, trying to enjoy our senses. But when we come to Krishna consciousness, we realize, no, there's a higher pleasure in serving Krishna. So therefore, it is our duty to reawaken those souls who are sleeping. We have to tell the people, we shouldn't just be like, all like smug, I know about Krishna, I go to the temple on a Sunday. No, we should be wanting to tell other people, hey, come. Like that. Like Paul, he's not with us just now, but Paul brought his friend Steve, brought his friend Steve to the temple. So this is what we want to do. We want to try and share this. And yes, repeatedly hearing this dialogue. So put your hand up if you've read the Bhagavad Gita all the way through once. Okay? Okay, put your hands up if you've put your hands up if you've read it twice. 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. How many times have you read the Bhagavad Gita? 7, right? I've read it 7 times. Nice. Now, if you haven't read the Bhagavad Gita, get out. No, firstly, you can get a Bhagavad Gita. We have Bhagavad Gitas for sale in the shop. Of course, you cannot put a price on knowledge, but they do cost us money to print. So buy yourself a Bhagavad Gita and read it every day. Now, the point we're making is that generally, if you repeatedly hear something, or you repeatedly read something, then it becomes a bit boring, right? If you read the same book again and again and again, how many times can you read it? Like right now I'm reading The Twits, which is a Roald Dahl book. I'm reading that to my son at night time, and I loved that book growing up, you know. I've probably read it a couple of times, and I'm reading it now, but I wouldn't want to read it 7 times. Oh, we've already read that book, thanks. Oh, you're right, sorry, we're not reading The Twits. We've read The Twits, we're reading the BFG, aren't we? Yeah, sorry, my mistake. He's on the ball. Yeah, we read The Twits already. But I wouldn't want to read it like 7 times like the Bhagavad Gita. And what about your favourite song? Who's got a favourite song? Now, I tell you what, if you've got children, when you get children, young children, they take over the stereo in the car. And you can never listen to anything that you want to listen to. So all we ever listen to in the car is, let it go, let it go. If Nadia, my daughter's in charge, it's let it go. She calls it yay go. I want yay go, Daddy. I want yay go. So that's all we ever listen to, let it go. Or if it's Haridas, what do you like to listen to in the car, Haridas? Number Block song. He likes the Number Block song. Or You're Welcome, right, from Moana. Now, I tell you what, after you've heard those songs about 30 times, it's like, probably 100 times. Every time we're in the car, it's like, oh my God, can't wait till they get a bit older and they like something else. But Hare Krishna, I've been chanting Hare Krishna for 25 years. Never gets bored. Prabhupada uses this word hackneyed. Never becomes boring. It never becomes static. Actually, it's ecstatic. Like, who's experienced that, right? Every time you listen to some kirtan, it's like ever fresh, isn't it? You know, there's so many different melodies or different moods of chanting. And Prabhupada, he pretty much always chanted the same melody. Who can sing me the Prabhupada melody? Someone sing it. Everyone. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That was a bit low for me. Yeah, every time I listen to the Prabhupada melody, it's like you hear Prabhupada chanting, it's like, wow, this is so enlightening, so inspiring, it's ever fresh. You know, so repeated hearing, actually, it increases our pleasure. Anandam Buddhi Vardhana, it increases the ocean of material bliss. So there's one way we can repeatedly hear the Bhagavad Gita. Who here is a member of Chad? One person. Does anyone know what Chad is? Tell us back to Rupa, what's Chad? Chapter a day. So that means you can become a card-carrying member of Chad. That means there are many devotees all around the world, and they take a vow to chant 1 chapter of the Bhagavad Gita every day. Now you can either do the Sanskrit or you can do the English. Myself, I've been a member of the Chad. I'm a lapsed Chad member. I've been a member many times, and then I've been on a 70-day streak, and then I lose it and have to start again. But what it means is you can easily become a member of Chad just by taking a little vow to read a chapter of the Bhagavad Gita every day. Now, who here is ever sometimes waiting in the supermarket, in a queue? Who's ever had to wait or at the bank? Who's ever had to wait? And sometimes you curse, right, when you're waiting in the pharmacy, it's oh God, but next time when you're waiting and you have to wait for 5 minutes, don't just curse the person in front of you. Pull out your smartphone and just chant a chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. If you go to chapter 12, there's only 20 verses. You can chant that in about 4 minutes. Next time you're in the bank. Or chapter 15 has 20 verses. There's a few. I wouldn't recommend if you're in the bank, maybe don't do chapter 18. That's 84 verses. That'll take you a little longer. But generally, you can chant a chapter of the Bhagavad Gita somewhere between 3 minutes and 10 minutes. I just do the translation. I just do the English. Some devotee, what do you do, back to Rupa?
Sometimes both.
Sometimes both. There you go, greedy. Yeah, if you just wanted to do the Sanskrit, there's one devotee who can chant the whole 7th chapter, all the Sanskrit in 1 minute, less than a minute. 7th chapter, just the Sanskrit. I like to do the English. It's nice to do the translation as well, but the Sanskrit as well. But what you find is when you chant a chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, you become familiar with the verses. Srila Prabhupada said we should know these books like a lawyer knows the law books. The lawyer in court, he says in paragraph 3.6, from this case in 1978, you will see there was a precedent and therefore this person is let off the hook, or like that. They know the law books inside out. So we should know the Bhagavad Gita. Sue.
I know that in Islam you have to chant Quran in Arabic because it has more power.
Yeah.
Is there more power in chanting it in Sanskrit?
There's not more power. There's definitely power. It's purifying the Sanskrit, even if we don't understand it. Right? Just like a flame will act, even if a child doesn't know the flame's going to burn them. But just because you're ignorant of the flame, it doesn't mean it won't burn, it will still act. So yes, Sanskrit is purifying. Even if we're chanting Hare Krishna, if we're out on the streets chanting Hare Krishna, if people don't understand it, it will benefit them, it will purify them. But of course, like for instance, we'll sing songs we'll sing Jaya Radha Madhava, or we'll sing the Gaura Arti song, but it's good to know what you're singing. They say first you have to become conscious before you become Krishna conscious. So if we're not conscious of what we're singing, there's more power, there's more benefit if we know what it is. Right? So for instance, Prabhupada one time, one Indian gentleman came up to Prabhupada and he said, I can recite the whole Bhagavad Gita in 48 minutes. And Prabhupada said, very good, but can you live the Bhagavad Gita for 48 minutes? And the man was silent. So yes, we can chant the verses, parrot fashion, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chuchuskritam dham samstapanataya sambhavami yuge yuge. Many people in India, they'll know these verses. Yada yada hiramasya glanir bhavati bharita puttanam madamasya tadatmanam shujamyahan. Right, you know these verses. But just because you know the verses, has it made you any more Krishna conscious? No, because we recite them parrot fashion. You can teach a parrot to chant Hare Krishna. If you go on YouTube and you YouTube parrots, you can get parrots that are chanting Haribol, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You can get a parrot to chant Hare Krishna. But if you suddenly put your hands around the parrot's neck, we don't recommend it, we're non-violent. But if you put your hand around it and you wring that parrot's neck, it's not going to chant Hare Krishna, it's going to go like that. So in other words, we don't just want to chant parrot fashion. And that's why Srila Prabhupada translated his books into English. Otherwise, why didn't he just come and just give us the Sanskrit? No, he's translated into English so we understand what's the purport. So particularly for us, in one sense, even more important than the Sanskrit is Prabhupada's purport. Because he's telling us what this verse actually means and how we can apply it in our life. So yes, but the Sanskrit is purifying and it will benefit us. But also understand what the Sanskrit means. If you speak Sanskrit, fantastic, just chant the Sanskrit. But for myself, I know some words in Sanskrit, but I don't speak it fluently, so I will read the English. Anyway, so yes, you can become a card-carrying member of Chat. We'll read you a little something here this is a book by Vaisheshika Prabhu, and he's not the person, he's the person that came up with this acronym of Chat. But Srila Prabhupada recommended that if we chant a chapter of the Bhagavad Gita every day, actually one becomes free from all the sins one has committed that day as well. That doesn't mean that we use it as a tool to become free from sins. Like I can do whatever I like and I'll just chant a chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. That's offensive. Anyway, so here we go. So this is what Prabhupada said. He said, I thank you so much for having nicely appreciated the Bhagavad Gita as it is. This book should be read by all of my students, at least one chapter per day. And in Kirtan class, it should be discussed shloka after shloka. Practically, we have tried to explain in this book all of the basic principles of Krishna consciousness. If you can simply cram Bhagavad Gita, then you will surely become a very good preacher. Yeah, so he says, Chad is now a worldwide circle of devotees who have vowed to chant at least one chapter from Bhagavad Gita as it is every day. To be a card-carrying member, one must chant all the verses of at least one entire chapter of the Gita, either the Sanskrit shlokas, the English translations, or both. So who would like to become a member of Chad? Okay, so try it. Takes 5 to 10 minutes every day. But that little bit of time you invest will have eternal benefit. And you'll start to remember the Bhagavad Gita. And you'll start to apply them, you know? You'll be in a situation, and then you'll be like, well, what does Krishna say? Yeah, like that. Okay. Yeah. So, we're going to try and round this up now. But Prabhupada says that we have to hear Bhagavad Gita from the right source. Either from Krishna, or Krishna's bona fide representative. And we have to understand it amongst the devotees. Like we said, because when we understand it amongst the devotees, we're with other devotees who are practicing it and who are applying it, and they may have a better understanding of something than us. We can all learn from each other. Sometimes it's nice just to read a verse from the Bhagavad Gita all together. We did it a couple of months ago. We read one verse. And then we just, for about an hour and a half, we just all discussed that verse, and everyone had a different, way of looking at it. It was nice. Because sometimes we can take Prabhupada's quotes out of context as well, you know? Yeah, like that. And then one can become fully Krishna conscious, increasingly enlightened. Increasingly enlightened. In the material world, generally nothing increases. Most things material, they deteriorate. When something is born, it remains for some time, it grows, it produces some byproducts, and then it dwindles and it dies. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Every day I look in the mirror and I see more grey hairs, less hair. So I have to shave my head often, because if I don't shave my head very often, then I start to see how little hair I've got left there. If I shave my head fresh, it takes 10 years off me. You know? Even my beard, I've got a beard at the moment. I've not shaved, but it's full of grey hairs now, you know. I'm deteriorating. Yeah. Our good looks don't last for very long. Make the most of it, Nikunj. They say up until the age of 27, after the age of 27, it's all downhill. Put your hand, actually I won't ask you to, I'll say who's, we don't want to embarrass anyone. It's all downhill after 27. Yeah. Now, enjoying life with a thrill at every moment. We asked, does that sound good? And we all said yes, it would be nice to enjoy life with a thrill. Actually, there was a survey done in America one time to find out how people were. And this was some years ago. This is like one of these, official polls, right? So listen to the result. 5% of the people interviewed said they were happy. 5% said they were unhappy. 90% of people said they were bored. 90% of students said they were bored. This was done a few years ago, maybe before. It's hard to get bored nowadays, especially having like a smartphone or something, right? I've just started to now charge my phone downstairs at night rather than upstairs. I've bought an old school alarm clock. And I'm charging my phone downstairs at night. Because otherwise, last thing at night, first thing in the morning, rather than reaching for our beads and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, or rather than reaching for the Bhagavad Gita or a nice Krishna conscious book, you reach for your phone and you go on, YouTube Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, whatever it is. And okay, yes, we can also look at Krishna conscious things on there, right? But how often does something just suddenly pop up in your feed and it's like, oh, what is this, you know? Or you're just talking about something, you know, talking about whatever, you know. And then all of a sudden it's there, and then it's so easy to go down like a rabbit hole on YouTube or something, and then it's like 3 hours later, and it's like, oh my God, I was supposed to have been doing this, and now I'm, you know, looking at, you know, who really shot JFK or something like that, right? So easy just to get carried away. So yeah, I started trying to charge my phone downstairs, and at night time just try and do a little reading, you know. First in the morning. I've been doing it for a few days now. It's very nice. So yeah, 5% are unhappy, 5% are happy, 90% bored. But we want to enjoy life with a thrill, not just once, but at every moment. So this repeated hearing, it's very powerful. It's one of the A, B, C, D, and E of spiritual life. We've said this before, but the 5 most important sorry, I'm distracted now. The 5 most important angas or limbs of devotional service is A, B, C, D, and E. If you don't remember anything else, Nikunj. Oh, that's another one. That's A, B, C, and D. Yeah, that's association, books, chanting, and diet. That's a good one. But I've coined another one, which is the A, B, C, D, and E. And that comes from what's known as the Pancha Angam. These are the 5 most important principles of devotional service. So A stands for association. Associating with devotees. B is Srimad Bhagavatam. It means hearing Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. Or you could just say books, in that sense. Hearing the books. A, association. B, books. Hearing the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavatam. C is for chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. D is for deity worship, worshipping the deity. And then E is for environment. And that's living in a holy place, existing in a holy place. So these are described as the 5 most important things: associating with devotees, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting the holy names, worshipping the deity, and living in a holy place. So A, associate. Let's try it. So A is for B is for Bhagavatam books. C is for chanting what? Come on, Newcastle. Chanting Hare Krishna. Yeah. D is for, thank you, deity worship, worshipping the deity. And E is for environment, living in a holy place. Yeah. Yeah. A, B, C, D, and E. But actually, of all of those 5, the most important, what do you think is the most important of those 5? Association. You said C. Chanting Hare Krishna. Okay, put your hands up if you think it's C. Put your hands up if you think it's A. Put your hands up if you think it's something else. Everything. No, that's a cop-out. We said, what's the most important?
Because association, you sort of need devotees to be near you, or you need to contact them in any way, but chanting, you can do it wherever you want, whenever you want.
Yeah. Well, it's true, actually. I mean, listen, chanting is the most important, right? Harinama, 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 Eva Kevalam, Kalam Nascheva, 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 Gatir. In this age of quarrel or hypocrisy, or this age of Kali that we're living in, there is no other way, no other way, no other way but to chant the holy names, chant the holy names, chant the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But let me ask you a question. Who always feels inspired to chant Hare Krishna? Okay, well, I'm asking you. Who in the audience always feels inspired to chant Hare Krishna? I don't always feel inspired to chant Hare Krishna. Do we always, let's be honest, do we always feel inspired to chant? But when we come to the temple and we're with enthusiastic devotees, do we feel inspired to chant then?
Yeah.
Yes. So therefore, association is the most important, because in the association of devotees, all of the other things are taking place. In the association of devotees, they're speaking about Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. The books are being discussed. They're chanting Hare Krishna. They're worshipping the deity. And being in the association of devotees is a holy place. So the point is that yes, chanting Hare Krishna is the most important, but in order to get a taste for chanting Hare Krishna, we have to associate with devotees. It said, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastri Koi, Lava Matra, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. That it is the verdict of all the scriptures that by one moment's association with a sadhu, a saintly person or a devotee, one can achieve all success. So therefore, for myself, I find that yes, therefore association is most important, because it renews my enthusiasm to chant Hare Krishna and to practice devotional service. And this is Easter, right? We're on the Easter holidays. So Easter is about people give an egg, right? A chocolate egg. Are you going to get a chocolate egg for Easter, Harry? Are you going to get a chocolate egg for Easter? Yes. You have to be a good boy though. So the egg is supposed to symbolize rebirth, right? Jesus rose from the cross. He was reborn. So the egg is supposed to symbolize Sri Sri Panchatattva, rejuvenation, rebirth. So for some of us in Krishna consciousness, we've been around for some time. But we want to be rejuvenated. I want to be rejuvenated. I want to be fresh. I want to be enthusiastic again. What's that?
It doesn't mean about that.
What does it mean about?
It doesn't mean I learned it at school.
Did you learn about Easter at school?
Yes, but it's not that. So I learned about Easter or another thing, but it's a different thing, because that's not the thing that happens at Easter, because he died and he comes back.
That's right. Yeah, well done. Been listening to school. Yeah, so Jesus died and then he came back. He rose from he was reborn, and that's why we give the egg. But we also want to be reborn in Krishna consciousness. We want to be rejuvenated, right? We want to enjoy life with a thrill, not only once, but at every moment. So for this, we have to repeatedly hear and practice the Bhagavad Gita. And I'm just going to finish now with a little quote, again from this book by HG Caitanya. This is actually these are a series of verses glorifying the Srimad Bhagavatam. But it also applies to the Bhagavad Gita. In other words, hearing the Holy Scriptures. So we'll finish with this. Yeah, okay. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of light to all the worlds. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master, Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my saviour, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, Ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Enjoying life with a thrill at every moment ki. Nitai Gaura Premanande. So we will stop there. And I would like to ask now if there are any questions, any comments, or any reflections. And a reflection just means something that you've heard, which you found inspiring, and which has stuck in your mind. So, questions, comments, or reflections. Also online, if anyone's watching online, leave a comment, question, or reflection.
Oh, yeah.
Kira.
Sorry, I always have a question.
No, it's good.
You mentioned a bit earlier about how, we were talking about us looking upon sort of non-devotees and maybe thinking they're a little crazy in a very nice way. But for their sort of worshipping the material world. And obviously I would say I'm fairly new to Krishna consciousness, in some way, shape or form, only 6 years out of my 38 years have I had any connection to it. But sometimes when I'm really deep into japa, or I'm really deep into what we're doing here with the kirtan and stuff, sometimes it feels like I've known about Krishna a lot longer than that 6 years. And I've tried thinking about, perhaps, is it something to do with the fact I grew up in London, and I used to see that Hare Krishnas walking around central London especially and stuff, and you had a few chats with them and must have heard the Mahamantra. But it feels like it goes deeper than that. It feels like it goes back way, way beyond that. And so you also said, we kind of feel sorry in a way for the non-devotees. In fact, they haven't had a chance to meet Krishna yet. Or, I'm paraphrasing you.
Yeah.
But this feeling that I get that I've known this longer, am I off on a limb there? Is that a hallucination?
No.
What could that be?
Yeah, so your question, and for anyone, just repeat it, for anyone online and anyone else. So your question is that you're relatively new to Krishna consciousness, 6 years or so, out of your 38, but you feel that you've known Krishna for a lot longer. You feel like the connections to Krishna has been there a lot longer than 6 years, and that perhaps because you grew up in London, you may have heard devotees chanting on the streets or even spoken to devotees, and you're wondering if you're off on a limb. The answer is no, you're not off on a limb. Firstly, we've all been with Krishna at some point. The word yoga, actually, sometimes we say the word yoga means to connect, but actually it means to reconnect. So we're reconnecting back to Krishna after maybe millions of lifetimes. So we're reconnecting. We say back home, back to Godhead. We don't say going home to Godhead. We say back home. We're going back. That means we were there before. So it's described that when one goes back to the spiritual world, one remembers, it's almost like one was never gone, right? Sometimes when you meet an old friend, it's like we were never apart. Right? You may not have been with someone for 20 years, but you see them again, it's you just feel like the connection's there. So when we're back with Krishna, we remember the material world like a bad dream. That's what they say. But also, it's definitely a fact that you may have heard devotees chanting in London. You may have... that's called agyata sukriti. It means unknowing devotional service. Sometimes we may have just... we heard the Maha Mantra, maybe we heard it in a George Harrison song or whatever it is, and the mantra's gone in, but we haven't realised. But also, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that for the unsuccessful yogi, they take birth again in the family of transcendentalists or aristocratic persons. So, Haridas. So therefore, yes, we may have had a connection with Krishna previously, in our previous lifetime. Sometimes we see someone comes to Krishna consciousness and they pick it up like within like a few months or something, and we think, wow, this seems like this person's carrying on from a previous lifetime, you know? Now, so we may well have had connection with Krishna in a previous lifetime, but we shouldn't become puffed up and proud. That means we didn't get it right. We didn't get it right last time. We made a mistake, you know? And therefore, let's not make that mistake again. Let's get it right this time. But I also felt like that when I was looking for something. When I first read Prabhupada's books, there was something new and exotic about it. It was like, wow, this is like just so like mystical and magical and so like otherworldly, and you know. But at the same time, there was something very familiar about it. It was like at a soul level. It was like, yeah, I know this. You know, I felt that. So whether or not I was carrying on from a previous lifetime, who knows? Doesn't really matter what we were in our last lifetime. Doesn't really matter. We didn't get it right. We're here now. Let's perfect our life this time.